Hey everybody, welcome to another Cricut craft tutorial. Today we are going to do an etched glass picture frame. We always talk about etching glass on tile or on a cup, but we're going to actually do a picture frame today. So all you're going to need is any picture frame. Doesn't matter what size you choose. I got these ones from Walmart for like 98 cents and I'm actually repurposing them. These were used for my wedding, so we're going to repurpose them. I'm going to use a cardstock background, and then you just take your glass out. This is the only part you need right now. You're going to want a pair of gloves. I just used some cheap like rubber gloves that I got from Walmart. Get a big box of them. You're going to need your ARMOUR etch. Again, don't buy this full price. Full price on this is $10.99 from Hobby Lobby. Use the 40% off coupon. You can also get it on Amazon for about $8. I'll put a link below for that, and you can get it at Joann with a coupon as well because this never goes on sale. You're going to want a bowl or some other kind of disposable item. Don't use a glass for this. And then you're going to want a sponge applicator. And you'll also want whatever kind of vinyl you're going to use. I use the CRICUT STENCIL vinyl. So we're going to make sure that we measure our glass piece because we need to know how big we're going to make our item using our STENCIL vinyl. So I've got about 4 inches by, should be I believe it's a 4x6 frame. So about 4x6. I'm going to make my paw print, I'm going to do a paw print. So I'm going to make it probably no wider than about 3 inches. So we'll go over into the design space and we'll quickly load our paw print, and then I can show you guys it cutting, and then we can start etching. We're in design space, and this is going to be a really simple, easy project. Now I've already previously loaded a bunch of different paw prints, so I'm going to use one that I've previously uploaded. If you ever want to use an old uploaded image, just go to uploads right here, click upload, and then you can click view all, and you'll see I've got all kinds of different designs and things, and I can reuse those at any time. So I'm just going to use this plain paw print, and I'm going to go ahead and insert it. And like I said, I'm not going to go more than 3 inches, which this guy's actually pretty well sized as it is, but I'm just going to reduce his size just a little bit more. And we only need one of these. So this is a super easy, simple project because you'll see the background is when we're going to get a little fancier with it. And we're going to add some vinyl to it, but I'm going to show you guys it etched. And then we're going to go ahead and add some of those embellishments. So for this one, we have to set our dial to custom because we're using the STENCIL vinyl. So I want to show you what happens. So I have my machine on. I set it to custom on the dial, and I'm going to hit continue. What it's going to do is it brings up this big list, and it says to set your material. These are your popular materials. For me, none of these are what I need. So I'm going to hit browse all materials, and I'm just going to click on a category, and we know that it's a vinyl. And the STENCIL vinyl is right here at the bottom. So go ahead and click STENCIL vinyl, click done. And now we can go ahead and load our mat, and we can load our, we'll put our STENCIL vinyl on our mat, and then we can cut it. I'll show you guys that, and then we can put it onto our glass, and we can actually start etching. I cut my STENCIL vinyl into just a small square because we really don't need much more than that. For STENCIL, I usually will leave a bit of an overlap just because that way you don't risk getting too much of your, or any of your etching cream onto your project. So I'm just going to put that on there. I want to show you guys the dial so that you guys can see that it is set to the custom setting, so the one all the way over and to the left. We're going to load it, and when the CRICUT button flashes, we're going to hit start, and it's going to go ahead and start cutting. The nice thing is this is a pretty quick, simple project, so it really doesn't take a whole lot of time to cut. It's pretty easy to do, and it's really, really fun. Like I said, a lot of people, this etching cream, you can do so much with it. Super fun to do. And I'm going to show you guys this weeding, and this is such a quick, easy project. I'm just going to slide you guys right here, and then I'm just going to pop this off. And I just want to show you how easy this is going to be. And I don't even need my weeding tool because we're going to do the inside of the paw print. So I'm just going to pop the other pieces of the paw print off. So I'm going to get the 4 toes and then the pad of it. And that's all we have to do with this one. This one's really super easy since we're just going to etch the paw print into our project. We don't even really need transfer tape for this, but I'm going to use some just to be safe. before we do anything else, I'm going to move you guys over here so that you guys can see. We are going to go ahead and clean our glass with alcohol. And what that does is it just gets rid of any debris or dust. And it's going to help, not have any bubbles in our stencil, that's the word. And it's also going to help that glass etching cream actually work. And I know it's hard to see because obviously it's glass and it's clear. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to clean both sides of this just to be safe, just in case I accidentally flip it at some point when I'm doing this. And we're just going to rub all the dirt off. And I'm going to let that dry for just a minute. And while we're doing that, we can apply our transfer tape to our stencil. So I'm just using the contact paper from the Dollar Tree. And all I'm going to do is peel my tape off. And this is actually a piece I used for something else, but I accidentally ripped it. So I'm just going to use it on this. And honestly, this doesn't take a whole lot of effort when you put it on, but it keeps sticking to my wax paper. But you're just going to do like you would normally do on vinyl, and you're going to rub it so that it's all, wax paper is making me crazy. You're going to rub it so that it sticks to your transfer tape. We're just going to stick to the wax paper, it's fine. Now with this, you're going to want to make sure that you are getting out any bubbles when we apply it to our glass. So I'm going to go ahead and peel it off of the backing, and you can see it's not stuck real well. You can actually just kind of guide this one along to start it, and since it's such a plain piece, it really won't be too hard to just guide it off of here. And then you're just going to line it up on your glass. Now you can use a ruler, dry erase marker, whatever you need to use to line it up. I just usually eyeball it. I'm not too concerned if it's not 100% perfect, but I usually will just eyeball where I want to put it, and that was a little bit off. And you just lay it down. Now, this is the part you need to be really careful with. You want to make sure that you don't have any bubbles in your stencil. So when you're putting it on, you want to rub and rub a lot and make sure that around all the edges of your stencil, you don't have any little tiny bubbles. Some of the bubbles are from the transfer tape right now, so I'm going to go ahead and peel that off now that I've got my stencil stuck on. And we're just going to carefully peel that off. The stencil vinyl sometimes likes to stick to things and sometimes it doesn't. I found it just kind of depends a lot on how humid it is within the weather. So now is where you're going to take your hands and you're just going to use your scraper, and you can use your fingers and things, and you just want to blend out any bubbles that are along the edges of your design. So I'm not sure how well you guys can see it on here, but there is the stencil, and there are a few bubbles, but they're all on the edges over here. There's nothing around my toes or my pad. So it's okay that there's some bubbles in here because we don't worry about the etching getting in here. Now we're going to take our etching cream, and you want to shake it. It's super thick, so you're going to have to shake it really, 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 really hard. And I'd love to tell you that this is easy, but it's not. And you're just going to shake it super duper hard, and we're going to go ahead and open it. And I'm going to open it over the bowl. It usually ends up with some dry bits on it every time I do this. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put my gloves on because it keeps trying to come out. So you're going to put your gloves on because you don't want to get this stuff on your hands. And we're going to use our gloves to wash it off as well. In some of my previous videos, I don't. I know I should. So I'm going to make sure to actually do that this time. I usually just kind of forget. But it is important because this stuff is pretty gross. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is use what's on the cap just to start my stencil. So just take your sponge brush and your etching cream and dab it onto your paw print. We're only going to do the paw print, so we don't want to get it on the outside of our stencil, just on the inside. It's really important that we dab and we don't swipe it or wipe it on, because if you do, it runs the risk of getting under the stencil. The nice thing is with the stencil vinyl is that it does come up really easily, so that when you're using your stencil and when you're going to take it off, it comes off super easy without too much hassle. However, you don't want to wipe because it can get under there and it can move your stencil. So we don't want to do that. So just make sure that you're paying attention to not getting any of the etching cream under your stencil or on the outside of your stencil. And we're just going to kind of dab it on. Now, I'm not going to probably pour this into the bowl just because, again, this is a really small one and I can make do with just this. So I'm just going to make sure that my entire stencil all the way to the edges is covered, and you want to make sure you got a pretty decently thick layer on it, and you want to make sure that you get all the holes that might be in any of the glass etching cream. You just want to make sure that it is covering everything and every part that you're using. Now, some people say about 5 minutes. I usually wait a little bit longer just to make sure that the cream is in fact etching really nicely. We probably are going to wait closer to 15 to 20 minutes. It's not going to hurt anything waiting a little bit longer. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I go clean my sponge brush. I'm going to put my Armour etch away because you don't want anyone to get into this. You want to make sure that it's put in a safe place. It is poisonous. And like I said, don't touch this. Let it just sit. So make sure that none of your animals can get in the way or anything like that, because this could be very dangerous if they get into it. We'll let it etch, and when we come back, we will rinse this off, and then we can finish our design. We're going to rinse our etching cream off of our project. I just use like a lukewarm water, and I first kind of rub whatever etching cream is left on top off of it. You can just use your hand, but again, wear a glove. And try to just rub some of that excess off. If you don't get it all off, that's okay, because we're going to rinse it again here. Once most of it's off, then you're just going to peel off your etching or your stencil vinyl here. So we're just going to pull that off. And don't worry that you won't see the etching real deep right now. When it's wet, the etching tends to kind of disappear. You can see it a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and put it right back under the water. And I'm going to take a little bit of just Dawn dish soap or whatever mild dish soap you have and just put it on my hand. And I'm just going to wash this really quick. Just really lightly with the soap. You don't have to do any like hard scrubbing, but just kind of lightly wipe it off with the soap. Sorry if my camera keeps trying to auto focus. Now that you've got all your etching cream off, you can take your gloves off so that you can get all that soap off a little bit easier. So I'm just going to take those off, and then I'm going to rinse this. Try to get all the soap off of it. And I'm going to dry it off so you guys can see it a little bit better. Because like I said, once it's wet, you really don't see the etching too much. But when you get it dry, the etching will show a lot more. So we're going to go ahead and get this dried off as much as we can for you, so that you guys can see. I'll try to get it nice and dry so you guys can get a good look at it. But there is our etched paw print. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our design space, and we are going to do a little bit of a design that maybe can go here or even up here, and then we can put a pretty piece of cardstock behind this and make a really nice gift or something for your own home. So we're ready to do some more work with our etched frame. The more I look at it, the more I kind of like it without anything else on it. I think it's just going to be a really cute plain paw print. So I'm going to actually use my Cricut to help me cut out the background for my picture, and I'm just going to use a heavy cardstock. So to do this, I just measured the part where the paper actually fits. So I know that I'm working with 4 inches by a little under 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my shapes, and I'm going to draw a square. But because my square is rectangular, I need to unlock it. So in order to unlock it, you just click this little lock button down here. So I know that I need about 4 inches by 6 inches. So what you can do is up here in your, where it says size, you can actually just type it in up here. So I know that I've got 4 inches wide, so I'm just going to hit 4, enter. And then I know that I'm a little under 6 inches tall. So I'm going to do 5.9 and just hit enter. Now this paper that I'm using, I'll show you guys, it's like a gradient look. And there's a certain spot that I want to cut out so that I can use that gradient. And we'll show you guys how to do this. So I'm going to click make it. And I'm going to actually move my square on my mat here, because you can move it anywhere you want, to where I want it to start cutting actually on my mat itself. Since this one kind of has a neat pattern to it, each part of this cardstock looks a little bit different. So I just found the part that I liked the best as far as the pattern went. And I'm going to go ahead and cut my square there. So we're going to go ahead and I'll show you it cutting so you can see that it's actually going to cut on the part we want it to, which is really quite nice. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. And I want to show you that we did change off of custom, and we're going to have it on light cardstock. I think I'm going to turn it to regular cardstock. This one's a little bit thicker. So we'll go over to the machine, we'll get it cut, and then I'll show you guys once we put it all together. So like I said, we did load our cardstock. You can see it's a gradient design. So I'm just going to go ahead and load it. And you'll see, and I probably have to pull my machine out just a little bit from the wall. So you'll see that when it goes to cut, it'll come down to where I had it marked on the mat. So you can see it's coming all the way down. And it's going to cut it where I had it marked to cut on the mat. And we're going to be able to simply load it into our picture frame and just use this little piece, which is going to be awesome. This is such a nice, fun little trick that you can do with these machines. So you don't have to try to size your own cardstock, especially for like picture backing. So this is what we have. You can see it's kind of a gradient green. So we're going to get all the pieces of our picture frame together. So we've got our frame, and I'll move you guys down so you can see. We've got our black frame. We have our etched glass, which I'm going to wipe down one more time with alcohol because I can see it's a little bit spotty from the use of the Dawn. It tends to leave a little bit of a film. So just so it's a nice clean glass piece, I'm going to wipe it down one more time with alcohol. Be careful because the edges of your glass are going to be a little bit sharp, and I totally just rubbed it on the side of my finger and, well, just did it again. I can't be trusted. So we're going to go ahead and figure out which side we etched on. So I'm going to put the etched side out because I think that's going to show a little bit better. And then I'm going to put my gradient paper down. And then all we need now, once I find where I set it, is the backing of our picture frame. So we have the back of our frame. Like I said, just got this from Walmart, super cheap. So we're just going to slide our frame together. And then we're going to put our clip in that holds the frame together somehow. And our project is done. Hopefully you guys can see this, but you can see there's a beautiful paw print etched right into our glass. I may still add something to it. I haven't quite decided. I don't know if I kind of like it plain like this or if I want to add a little something extra to it just for fun. But this is all finished. Pretty much all done with CRICUT stuff. The cardstock I got from Hobby Lobby. It's in a pack of watercolor ones, and frame is from Walmart. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know below. I'm always happy to answer your questions. If you're looking for a specific tutorial, also put that in the comments below. I love to make you guys tutorials. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I do put out new videos all the time. If you hit the little bell icon, that's going to alert you anytime that I do post a new video. I hope you guys had a great time and have a great day.